Okay. Stop sharing. Let me just share. I wanted to share something else. Where's the PDF documents? There we go. Okay. Good morning, grade 12s, and welcome to our second lesson. I hope you had a
Morning, sir.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Can you see the PDF document of the PAT in front of you, the screen I'm sharing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I had a read. I read the PAT through yesterday, and it sounds like an intriguing PAT to look to do this year. So we're going to quickly discuss the PAT and how our timeline for the PAT looks like. What needs to be done. So we're going to space out this large project into smaller chunks for you to handle. Okay. Guys, there are two PATs we can choose from, the civil and the mechanical. But I'm going to go ahead and recommend you take the civil. One reason is mechanical is more difficult. And usually with mechanical, you need to have some extra knowledge about the device or the tool that you have to redesign or improve. So it's not just to draw it, it's also the background. And what I've also learned from past experience, you get easier marks from the IAB if you do the civil PAT. Okay, so if there's really someone who would like to try the mechanical, you're more than welcome to. I won't recommend it, but if you really feel up for a challenge, you can. I'm not going to stop you. I'll do my best to support you then, but I have more knowledge on the civil side. Okay, so that's up to you. We can't force you to take one or the other. Okay, the only thing that's important is you have to do the PAT. Now, guys, first of all, this PAT, as you see here in the first paragraph, counts 25% of your year. Okay, so the entire year, 25% is only for the PAT, which is a good thing because if you do this PAT right, you can get 100% for the PAT. Okay, it's possible because what will happen is you'll give me the PAT every now and then. I'll tell you, okay, at this point, hand in, let's say, phase 1. I'll mark it, tell you where you lost marks on a Excel rubric with comments. You go back and you improve or make the necessary changes, and I mark it again. So we are allowed to give the PAT back to you. You improve it, and I mark it again. Okay, so in other words, you can get 100% for this PAT, or at least a high distinction for the PAT. Is that clear to anyone, to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is a hard PAT, but because I'm here and because I can remark it, you can get 100%. Okay, so this PAT counts as your third EGD exam. So 25% is for your year's work. That's the 10 course drawings. And we are only at the moment writing one test. It was supposed to be 2, but the IB changed it because of COVID. So you're only going to write one test. Then it's the 10 course drawings. Your prelims at the end of the year, that'll count 25%. Then the next 25% is paper 1 from the IB. The third 25 is the second paper, and then your PAT. So that's how it will look like. So emphasis on the PAT, and if you do well with your course drawings as well, you're going to have a good mark. I'm going to change a bit of my planning this year for the course drawings. Instead of just doing one course drawing, we'll do, let's say we're going to start off mechanical. Then we do the course drawing a bit later. And let's say it didn't go well. Let's say you didn't do well with the course drawing. We will do a second course drawing. And then I take the best mark from either or. So if you feel like, I had to do, my course drawing wasn't done that well, I want to attempt it again. We do another course drawing for mechanical again. So there's an opportunity to improve on your course drawing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, sir.
Now I'm going to quickly just skip through the, or skim over the PAT. We're not going to go into too much detail. I'll just tell you what's the homework for today, and it's only due for next week, Thursday. So you've got a lot of time. Okay. So the admin, just want to check if there's something here I haven't mentioned yet. Here's something important. I'll explain this to you now with an example. We're going to start with the research. Okay. And it says how it works is you have to find ideas, communicate them, and then evaluate your ideas, what you found with research, in your own words. The pros, the positive things, and the negative things. After comparing your ideas, indicate which of the ideas you would choose. A comparison is taken various, so when you're comparing something, it's taking similar items, you compare them to one another, and then you make an informed decision. I'll show you now with my example of a PAT that I did last year, how this looks like, and you can use the same format. What I'm going to do is, on my ebooks, I've posted this PAT, and what I've done is, I've given, this was my PAT from last year, in PDF form and also in Word, so that you can go and use this for yourself and then just change the layout or what you put in there. So let me just quickly show you how the PAT looks like when you're done. So this front cover is given to you. You can use it. Obviously, it's just going to be 2021. You should have an index with all the different parts of your research and design and final drawings. Then there's just a form to say this is your own work that both of us will sign. And then this is how your beginning looks like. So the first page, or the first thing you're going to start with today for next week, is to design or to draw or type out a design brief. So you can use my Word document just as it is. You're just going to obviously change this sentence and the specifications, but you can use this as a guide to help you. So let me just quickly read to you what happened last year. So what you do is, I'm just going to quickly jump back to the PAT. When you go to the PAT, it's going to give you a scenario. Here's the scenario. Okay, and they explain to you what they want from you. You take this scenario, so you read it, and then you go back to your own PAT and you rewrite what you've read, but in your own words. So it's going to sound the same, but it's basically like hearing, reading a letter and then telling someone else what you've read. So you'll say it a bit differently. You'll say it in your own words. You'll paraphrase what you're reading, and then you're going to add some extra information, like what you as a person, the designer, wants to add to the PAT. So for instance, here's mine from last year. So I've written, I've been approached by the Board of Governors to design a staff housing complex to be built on the unused field next to the Astrid hockey field. They want to construct at least 10 identical units to cater for the teachers and their families. These houses need to be cost effective, save energy, and environmental friendly. And then furthermore, the unit should also be accessible for handicapped residents. So I will consider general challenges with the building. So do you see what I did? Instead of sounding like a third person paragraph, it's written in first person. It becomes more personal. Then what I did is I added some extra information for myself. Like I said, these units cannot be built on top of one another, since stairs must be omitted from my designs because there are handicapped people. Ramps will be installed where needed, and cupboards need to be made accessible low to the ground. The bathroom should be redesigned to allow the movement of a wheelchair. Safety railings and support structures is critical to assist an individual with mobility challenges. So you're going to take the scenario, you're going to read through this scenario, and you're going to rewrite what was said here, but in your own words, and then add some extra things. Like for instance, you can say, I really wanted to install LEDs in the house for lighting that can actually change colors to change the mood of the house or the setting, Or I would like to add this feature. I always had this idea for my dream house to add it to this cottage. So you're going to personalize your scenario a bit. By the way, if you get other ideas as this project go along, you may change it. So you can come back to your scenario and add or change or remove some ideas you had. So this is not like set in stone. You can change this later again. Okay, so this is just, this is your first thing you're going to do for next week, Thursday. Okay, let's just go back. Then next, you're going to write down 5 specifications and constraints. This is given to you, most of them. For instance, in your scenario, let me just go back. Let's quickly look for one specification. Just want to read chalet. Okay, yeah. The farmer requires the chalets to be environmentally friendly. Because that's a specification. It has to be in there. Okay, so it has to include. So you can list this: solar water geyser and other energy saving features. Okay, and it also needs a handicap friendly bathroom. Okay, let's see what else. The existing room is a simple flat top design, and the owner would like you to make sure your design features is more traditional. So here's a constraint. It should be a traditionally angled roof design. So you can't just go and take any type of roof. That's a constraint. Okay, so when you go back to the previous example, specify 5 things that you should have and 5 things that they should not be, so not to include. For instance, specifications, I just listed what they wanted. 3 bedrooms, open plan lounge, dining room, kitchen. If this wasn't mentioned in this year's PAT, I would recommend this. This really helps. 2 full bathrooms, small covered patio, 2 parking bays. Then I said add constraints. No use of stairs, remove harmful sharp corners. It's almost like when you make a house baby-proof for toddlers, you can also make it handicap-proof. So in any sharp cupboards, you can put a rubber corner on, so in case people have mobility problems, they won't bruise themselves every time they move through the house. Something else you could have put here, I think I put it in here. No, I didn't. What you can also, for instance, mention is hallways can't be too narrow because you have to consider someone with a handicap, like in a wheelchair, needs to be able to navigate in that house. So always keep someone bound to a wheelchair in mind. So this is your homework for next week, Thursday. I'll post this on your group again. Just create your design brief. And then we'll post by next week, Thursday, the MS Team should be up and running smoothly. And you'll just post, and I'm just going to go through it and check where you can make some improvements. So this is your homework, just page 1. Just want to show you the rest of the PAT as well. This is how your research looks like. So every page is a new topic. There's pictures with your what do you call it, citations, the pros and the cons, and then you have a final choice. This is where you decide which of these designs to take. You're more than welcome to use more than one design. Here I had to make a choice. But for instance, here, I would have made use of all these features. Then you just mention it, okay? So you're going to make use of all the features. So I just want you to, I want to see that you made a final choice. So this is your research, but we'll talk about this next week. This is your focus for next week, Thursday. Last thing, let's go to our year planner. This was also posted on my ebooks. Okay, I'll have to adapt it a tiny bit because we only started a bit later, but you focus on grade 12. So we're going to start with mechanical assembly. But on this side, I made notes of how your research or your PAT should be going along. So in other words, by the end of 7 February, we should be done with research topic 1 and 2. So this time, this space here, we'll use for the design brief. Then next week, topic 3, 4. And so we continue until we get here. So as you can see, just want to quickly check. Yeah. By the 29th of August, the final version should be handed in. That's after you've printed it. I've marked it by this time. I've marked it about 3 times. So just to give you an idea when the patch should be done. The reason it should be done by August, and then I have the whole September to mark it a final time, because it takes a while, and then to hand it in, because by October, the end of September here, you'll actually start with your exams, or it's holiday and then it's exams. So I don't want you to work on PATs by then, because then so that you can focus on your final exam. So that's the idea. So we're working with this timeline at the back of your minds, so you don't have to sit with a PAT in your prelims and final exam. So that's the idea. Okay, so here's the entire year's planning, so you can see what we're going to do every day. I just have to add the numbers for the pages in here, because I only got it this week. So end of last week, so I still have to add the page numbers, because I didn't have it previously, so I couldn't put in page numbers. Okay, so that was the PAT. Okay, so everyone, so for today, you're going to do, for next week, Thursday, you can start today, continue over the weekend, complete this design brief. Okay, and this is on my ebooks. You can use my Word document. You can just erase this and use it again. So this is a nice format to use. It's already in order, so you can just use this as it is and make the necessary changes. Okay, that's it. If there's any questions about the PAT, I'm just going to give a few minutes to ask, and then we'll go on to our first work for this year. So just for the next minute, is there any questions about the PAT? This video is recorded, so I will post this later, so you can go back if you missed something.
Sir?
Yes.
Charlene, I think it was you. You can go first, it's fine.
I can't see the Word document on my ebooks.
Oh, do you only see the PDF?
I only see the PAT. There's 3 things there. It's the daily planner, the yearly planner, and the PAT.
Let me just quickly check. Maybe I didn't, because I put it on, but maybe I didn't make it visible. Let's go quickly check. Learning paths, where's the grade 12s?
Thank you, sir.
Online, PAT. Just check. I made up one that's called PAT resources. I can see it. Can you guys see it? If not, let me just make a note here. I'm going to post it to the WhatsApp group as well. But it should be there because I can see it. But just in case, I'm just write here, post content on WhatsApp as well. Okay, so Lisa, it should be there. But if not, I'm just going to post it on the WhatsApp group as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Sir?
Yes.
I was just wondering, so you said you would have marked it 3 times by the time we get to the hand-in date. We can come to you more than 3 times though, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. What I mean of,
okay.
It's formally marked, but obviously you can ask me questions anytime, you know, like, so how am I doing here? But at 3 times, I'm going to physically take the work in or electronically, mark it officially, no, not really, but officially, and give the rubric back to you. So then you can actually see, oh, okay, that's where I missed it. So I'm going to mark it a few times so you can actually make improvements. So that's what I meant. So you can actually see how am I doing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem.
Sir?
Yes.
So every time we come to you, or like next week Thursday, how we have to like show you our first part, does it have to be printed out or like written down, or like,
good question.
How do we have to hand it in?
We are only going to go onto paper for the very, very last PAT, the final hand-in. Up until then, we're going to do it electronically. So I'm going to open an assignment, not really, but on MS Teams, where you can just post that first page. You can take a picture of it. You can scan it in, or not scan, sorry. You can snippet or just send, so I can just read through it and see if you're on the right track. So no, we're going to send all the work electronically. We'll only print if necessary. In fact, last year, because of COVID, we didn't even have to have it in on paper, but I still asked the matrics to print it because if the IB asks me to send the pads physically, then I have it on hand. So we can actually do it electronically completely, but I still do it on paper at the end, just in case they want to see it. So that's just to play it safe. Because in the past, before COVID, you physically gave in a huge document that they look at, that they could page through it. But up until that point, we'll stick to electronic work.
Oh, so wait. So you're saying that we should like, wait, I'm asking if we like should write it like with our hands, or can we type it?
Yes, you can type it.
Send it to...
I'm going to send the Word document, my version of the pad from last year, and you can just, on that Word document, erase my words and then type in yours. So yes, please, you can do it electronically. If you'd like to write it down, because you guys prefer, if you prefer maybe to write down your concept, you can also send it to me on paper, but please, you can type it. We can stick to online stuff. Okay, anything else?
Sir? Is yours already posted, or are you still gonna post?
It's
now?
supposed to be posted on my ebooks. I did it yesterday already, but now looks like you can't see it. So I'll, after this lesson, just send what I posted on my ebooks to WhatsApp as well, just in case you can't see it on my ebooks.
Okay,
I can see it now.
Oh, okay, good. So you'll see on my ebooks, there's 3 things. You'll see the online lesson for today. Then there's a year planner, and then below it, it says PAT resources. And I posted there my PAT in PDF form, and then also my PAT in Words. You can go and make changes. So it should be on my ebooks, but I'll anyway post it on WhatsApp just in case.
Sir?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if I missed this. Where should we submit it?
I haven't made it yet. As soon as MS Teams, it should be working after this week. As soon as MS Teams is up and running again, I'll create an assignment page on MS Teams, and you'll just send it through MS Teams to me next week, Thursday.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But I will give more detail closer to the due date. Okay. All right, anything else?
Okay. No, I'm okay, sir.
Okay, good. Now we can go to our first page. So you can open in your books, page 8 and 9. 8 is the question, 9 is the answer page. I'm just going to switch over to my camera, and then we can start with our mechanical drawings for this year. Our first chapter. Woo! Okay, we've got, just want to check. We've got about 20 minutes left. There won't be any homework. The only homework you have is the PAT. We will do the drawings in class. Okay, where's my camera? Right. There we go. Just going to bring this camera a bit closer. Okay, so you can get your drawing boards ready. Okay, can you guys see my camera and the work?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's not fully in the frame.
Oh, that's fine. For now, I just want to read the instructions, and you can read on your own drawing as well. So we're going to start with, oh yeah, wait, I don't see there's something here. Okay, we're going to start with mechanical. There's nothing new this year from last year, so it's just revision, but it is a hard topic, so we have to practice it. The only difference is they make it more complicated drawings. So the parts are more complicated. So that's the only difference, but it's the same from last year. So this is just to practice this again. Okay, let's read it. So what they give you is an exploded isometric drawing of the parts of the pulley. So it's this. Okay, so they give you the entire pulley in exploded isometric, showing the positions of each part relative to all the others. Oops, sorry. And then what they also give you is the orthographic views of each part of the pulley assembly. So there's the isometric, and then every separate part, they show you the two sides of it. Front and side view. Now, how do we know which one is which? On the isometric, they have to tell you this way is the front view. So that means this side will be the right view. If you compare it to the front view, this side must be the right view. So if you go back to the parts, for instance, with the shaft, front, right view. With your nut, front, right view. And so they give you all the parts. Just a warning already, be careful of the pulley. Do you see that the pulley is not symmetrical? So that means if you cut it, this side and this side will look different because you're going to cut through a gap here and there you actually cut through a support structure. So we'll get there in when we get there. Okay, instructions. So answer this question on page 9, draw to scale 1:1 and inferred angle. Okay, so this is always part of paper 2, question 4, so it's always inferred angle. The following views of the assembly, okay, they want us to draw a sectional front view. So we have to cut it in half on cutting plane AA. Let's just quickly check where is AA, just to confirm if it's cut in half. There. Okay, so they want it to be cut halfway. The cutting plane which passes through the vertical line, yes. Okay, and then the right view. Note, this is important. Show 3 faces of the M24 nut and all necessary construction. You may not use a stencil. Okay, let's really talk about stencils. Just like I said last year, guys, you are allowed to use stencils. It's like mathematics. When the question says don't use your calculator, obviously you can use it, but they want to see the steps. So if you use a stencil of any kind or any sort in EGD, just add the steps as well. And start practicing with your stencils immediately because it takes some time to get used to it. So yes, stencils are allowed, but then you have to practice and you still have to show the steps how you got there. Okay, no hidden detail, that's good. They'll save us a lot of time and they want us to label the cutting plane and section AA. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to now lift the camera so we can see the whole page. Oh no, actually wait, before we start with the page. The first thing I always do before I start drawing, since we have to section the front view, I go and plan my sectioning on my question paper. I can make notes as much as I want to. This is my paper to work with. It's only the answer paper where you can't just do anything. Okay, so guys, my first tip for you for mechanical, go and plan your sectioning for your front view. So first thing, let's label what is front view and what is the right view. So I'm going to start off the grub screw. Just going to check, okay, the grub screw, this will be your front view. You're not going to use the top view. The top view is just there so that you can get the measurements. Now I'm going to go to the shaft. This is your front view. This is your right view. This might seem like you're wasting time, but then you don't have to, get confused after a while. If I go to the bush, front, right. The M24 nut, front and right view. The washer, front and right view. So move this a bit. Okay, then for the pulley, front and right view. Bracket, front and right view. Then the second thing I do is I encircle the parts I do not have to hatch. Okay. So in other words, we know the front view has to be sectioned, but there are some rules. We do not section a nut. We just draw it in. So even if the surface is cut, we don't show it. A washer is not sectioned. What else? The shaft will not be sectioned, except for one exception. A grub screw has to fit into the, let me just zoom in. So there has to be a grub screw on the shaft. Okay, that grub screw is gonna go in there. So it's gonna lock the thing in place. So if you look at the, oh, sorry. Hello. Sometimes I lose connection with the camera. There we go. So the grub screw fits into the support structure and it holds the shaft in place. So it's almost like a brake. So we don't have to hatch the entire shaft, but what we're going to do is on your picture, I'm going to use red just so you can see it. You're going to freehand a little hole there. The grub screw will be placed there on your picture. So there's the screw. And then you're just going to hatch that small little part. Okay, so I just plan it on my picture. Don't worry about how it looks like. This is just your own notes before you start. Okay, so it's not going to be hatched, but a small part of it will be sectioned. So you can actually see the detail inside. Okay, let's start off the bush. Now, what's nice about these questions, the hidden detail actually gives it away how you're going to cut this thing in half. So let me just get a ruler. So when you cut this thing in half, on your picture, this is what you're going to see. That part will be hatched. This part will be hatched. And then obviously the hidden detail lines becomes a solid line, and this line will fall away, that line will fall away, and this one. And in that small little line there, from that part to that part will not show as well. We're only going to draw the outline of the shape. So that's just the rule I made for myself. If you hatch your planning where the hatching crosses a line, that line falls away because we are only interested in the outlines of the sectional part. Does this make sense so far what I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
it takes more time to plan, but it saves a lot of time if you have your planning in place, because then you've got a plan of action to start. Okay, let's just first go to the, let's go to the pulley. This one is going to be hard. The pulley is a bit difficult because there's a lot of detail. Now, the pulley looks complicated, but what's nice about the pulley is that most of these lines will be gone because we are only interested in the outline. So that means if you cut this thing in half, that line will be gone, this line will be gone, the entire thing. So it's only the outline. So it's less work if you think about it. But to plan it, that's the difficult part. To actually see this cutting plane is difficult. Okay, so, but again, the hidden detail is my friend. So let's start. So the outline. Now, let's just talk about this part here. If you look at this pulley from the 3D view, you will still see this back part, because if you cut it in half, you're going to see that back part there. So just don't forget what lies behind your structure. So you're going to see this. But this part won't be cut because it's at the back. So I'm going to I'm following the hidden detail line. There. Okay, now just be careful here. It's going to stop. Just want to check. It's going to stop either there or here. Let's just decide which one. There's two hidden details. Just want to decide if it's the outside or the inside. If you're not sure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a ruler and just line it up. Okay, so it's the outside. Okay. And then this one, inside. So the hidden detail is the guide of how it's going to look like if you cut it in half. This takes some practice, not that easy, but you'll get the hang of it. Now here at the bottom, be very careful. If you look at your cutting plane, okay, so if this thing is cut in half, there you cut through a support structure, but here there's nothing, it's just a gap. But you will see this thing, it's going to be a bit smaller because if you're looking at it from a straight line, it's shrunk down because it's skewed from your perspective. So we're going to see it, but I'll show you what we're going to do. So we will see this, but it's going to look a bit different. Okay, if you're still uncertain about the hatching, that's why we're now in class practicing this, so you can get the hang of it. And then just going to check this. Okay, so if I hatch this, this is how it will look like. Hatch. Do I hatch this part here? No, it's cut. Oh, sorry.
Sir?
You can't see this, sorry. So, yes, someone had a question. Was it just about the camera?
Yeah, it was just about the camera.
Okay. So that part there is cut. This part is also cut, but we don't cut through it because it's a support structure. So it's a rib, in other words. So we leave it. There we cut. Let's just go down. We're going to cut this entire part as well. Now this part here we leave as well. Not because it's a rib, but because it's only an empty space and you see what's at the back. Okay, so we go. From here we cut again. Then this part here is also included. We won't cut through it because it's at the back. It's that little groove there at the back of the pulley. Now this still looks super complicated, but what I'm going to do is when I'm drawing it, just draw the outlines for now, and then we'll add the hatching at the end. Okay, so we're gonna first draw the outlines. So don't draw any of the lines on the inside, and then we'll take it from there. This just takes some practice to get used to this if it's so complicated. Okay, so there's the pulley. But it helps already to start planning it here than just going in blindly and start drawing it. Okay, last thing, then I'm going to end off this lesson today and we will start drawing tomorrow. Okay, now for the bracket. Again, your hidden detail is your friend. Now, the reason we're seeing two lines there's a grub screw that has to go in here. So what you're looking at is the threading itself. So we will just highlight the outside line. We don't have to add the threading because a grub screw will fit in here. Then it's hatch, hatch, hatch. Again, I'm going over a line there, so you'll only draw the outline. That inside will be gone. That's a hole, so we're going to leave it. If I look at the 3D picture, that's also a hole that was punched through this bracket. So we're just going to go around it. Now, I can see there's a hole there, but if you look, so always compare it with your 3D picture as well, the isometric. It's halfway. So those two holes are present, but we won't see it if you cut it in half because it's at the back and in front, not in the middle. So we just go over it. Now this, again, this wedge is being sliced in half. But because it acts as a support structure, it strengthens this bracket, we don't cut it. Remember the rule I always think about, how this makes sense to me. The point of hatching or cutting is to show things on the inside. So if you cut this wedge in half, there's nothing to reveal on the inside. Here it makes sense because we show a hole. Here it makes sense because we indicate there's no hole in the middle. At the top, there's also a groove or threading for a grub screw. On the shaft, if it wasn't for the grub screw, this shaft is just made of more metal. There's nothing inside to reveal, but because there's a small part that shows some hidden detail, we only hatch that part. So that's the concept of cutting something in half to reveal more information. Okay, let me just zoom out. So we have planned our picture and now we can start. So it took some extra time, but it saves time in the long run if you have a plan of action. Now, before I end off, let's just say the last thing I'll do tomorrow, where I will start. What I always do is when I start drawing the front view, I always start drawing the inside component. So even if the bracket is the biggest, I usually start with the grub screw itself. So, the shaft. I always start with the middle object and then draw the other things around it. That's just how I do it, but there's no particular order in how you have to do it. I just usually prefer starting with the shaft and putting everything around it. That gives me the most success usually. That's the first thing. And secondly, I draw the two views together at the same time. So I jump from one to the other. So if you look at your blank page, this is third angle. Oh, there's the bell. Okay. We will talk tomorrow about where we will start drawing. I'll quickly post the things on WhatsApp. Thank you for the class, guys. I'll see you then tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Cheers, guys.
Okay, thank
Bye,
you,
sir.
sir.
Have a great day.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.